this brings us to alchemical rejuvenation, right? This is an important topic to discuss. So very often, at different stages of the path, we release these big blockages of identity, of these past holdings, of conditioning, and on it goes. And from that, because of that stuff that we're no longer holding on to, that we're no longer constantly fighting ourselves with, there's a huge amount of energy that's released, a huge amount of vitality that has never been tapped before. Why? Because you're no longer burdened by the tapeworm of you. This is important, right? You are sucking out your own life force all the time. So because of this, the tapeworm dies, right? And then boom, so much more energy. So there's often rejuvenation and healing, vitality, clarity of thought. On and on it goes. We become restored. Now, what do you do with this? When I first started experiencing this, many years ago, what did I do with this? I used this to practice more, to train more, to sleep less. So every time I had one of these breakthroughs and I had more consolidation of focus, less distraction, so more energy, letting go of all these parts of me that like needed to be right, that needed to be this and that and the other thing, that was constantly rationalizing and coming up with the logical reason about how I was right in this situation and that situation and blah, blah, blah. That starts to go, man, so much more energy, right? So, you know, I slept less, I trained more and more and more and slept less and less and less. There were phases where I was waking up at, 2:45 in the morning, sleeping, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. And, train for 6 hours before going to teach, to come back and train before teaching, constant using of all of this newly liberated energy. Which of course led to, a lot of health issues and very depleted vitality, which I'm still recovering from to this day. So we don't liberate our shit typically all at once. There's some stuff that's being opened up at different times, and these layers of giving up of identity, of the past, of these projections of the future, all this stuff, yes, it's liberating energy. Now, could that be used for healing and rejuvenation and vitality and all this good stuff? Yeah, but it depends on what aspects of you are still locked up, right? So because of the particular aspects of that I had that were locked up, and the pride of pursuit and the meaning in that, and all, some things that might seem from the outside very good, the discipline and all this stuff, that was all coming from a place that wasn't so good, but it was baked into or hidden in the practice. So these things, these evolutions that we go through, can have very, very rejuvenative effects, right? The very restoring effects. What we do with that energy is very important. So we want to contemplate these things, ideally prior to going through the experience, so that when we are offered profound accesses to stores of vitality, that we are a little bit smarter with it than, say, I was. Because, once you dig your hole, it is some work to dig yourself out of it, because you can't dig yourself out of it with the same shovel that you use to dig yourself in. So, we all go through evolution in a different way, and we want to be very, very cognizant of this as we progress. The reason that I mention this is because very often there is this imposed illusion that when you are going through growth, it means this set of symptoms or experiences. that a sign of development is restored health and all this stuff. It certainly can be, but it's not always the case that everything occurs all at once. So we want to be a little bit kinder with ourselves and acknowledge the path that is unfolding and recognize the unfoldingness of it and not the unfoldedness of it, right? If we can avoid the trap of thinking that we're done, then we can keep growing, and hopefully in a safer way. Okay, so what happens when we have gone through a lot of this liberation and this plasticity has taken over, this fluidity, this ease of shift and change and expression, this adaptability of the bodies, the centers, the fields, the opening of the matrices? What happens when all of this has reached a certain level? Well, the living nature, mind substance, starts to express itself through the resonant alignments that are present, and alters the resonance of those alignments based on the open nature of the matrices, so that the change in resonance can pass through the different bodies and the different fields, and all the fields and bodies can come into a more harmonized unity with that particular alignment, right? A more harmonized integration with that particular responsiveness of that moment, that spontaneous frequency modulation. The unity of this offers an open door to the sovereign nature of free will. This is, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. This is, of course, a dichotomy, but it is, once again, at the essence of this path is free will, and that sovereignty that is only open to us and offered to us once that unity of resonant alignment with higher sources of light start to come through. So this is the freedom, the sovereign freedom for inspired creativity, for inspired and spontaneous creativity, inspired and spontaneous responsiveness, inspired and spontaneous frequency modulation, right? Based on the moment that you happen to be in, and the relationship of that moment to eternity, as eternity. And of course, freedom for the inspired modulation of identity. Different identities come into play for moments and break apart again. So this living mind substance, living intelligence, this starts to animate us via the vehicle of light. And it becomes a fascinating exploration of non-attachment, of that openness, of simply, I don't know, right? There's a lot of energy in the I don't know, and then from that humility, the intelligence, that living mind can come through. So threading the eye of the needle is no punishment. We want to be clear about that. Going through the dark night of the soul, this is no punishment. Nor are either of these end points, right? When we look at them like end points, we will always fall into aspects of spiritual materialism. The possibility, of course, is always there to choose, we might say, freedom, but it is not the way that we often think about it, as an either or. This is very much that neti experience of not this, not that. So the choice is not now. The choice is not to then. The choice is not when, right? The choice is eternal and it spans infinity. And this is the existing in and as and from and of the personal Akashic consciousness and the light of the spirit. This allows us the opportunity to explore weaving the silk of the infinite through the pearls of eternity, time and time again. In every action, in every thought and every feeling, there is we could say maybe it is motivated from, or it becomes out of infinity. It becomes out of that tender-heartedness, that compassion. And so every action, every piece of experience, every piece of expression is, we could say, an act of art. It is the light of perception weaving through appearance, weaving through the pearls of appearance, and the recognition of eternity and infinity, of emptiness and appearance, of light, all moving and articulating in these flashes of spontaneous form culmination and falling away. So this exploration of weaving the silk through the pearls and the way that I'm discussing it, I find to be a much more timeless and spaceless way of exploring these types of metaphors. And you know, that silk and the pearls, that's the that's the Ouroboros, right? That's the snake eating its tail as well. So it really opens a lot of doors, and it gets us out of the, okay, I did my dark night of the soul, now I'm done. I did my, threading the eye of the needle, now I'm awakened. This is a perpetual, a continuum. It's a continuum a continuum in a timeless expanse, which I know breaks a bunch of logical barriers. So from this, we know that we are not the needle, we are not the thread, we are not the eye of the needle, we aren't even both sides of the eye of the needle. We are all of it and none of it, and because of this, we are free. So this is a space that we want to begin to weave. We want to begin to understand this weaving of the tapestry of all of this, and that weaving of the tapestry of spiritual evolution and this path of cosmic consciousness, emptiness, and beyond. For training, please check out the website. We have courses in Hermetic Alchemy, Qigong, meditation. There is a Tai Chi program there. And of course, the Zen Den, which is a Q&A video reference library. So any questions that you have, I get back to you via video there. And then for personalized meditations and transmission outside of retreats, I do offer private lessons as well. These are typically best done after doing a retreat though, so we have strong familiarity with the frequencies that we're working with. All right, thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye. Practice.